The blaring emergency alarm had been echoing through the colossal Galactic Council chambers for precisely 3 minutes when Ambassador Riley Martinez strode through the doors, a steaming cup of coffee clutched in her right hand. The chambers, a magnificent architectural feat orbiting the neutral world of Asteria Prime, housed representatives from over 4,000 stellar nations. Today, every single one of them had their eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, fixed on the human. "Sorry, I'm late," Riley said, taking a casual sip from her cup. The coffee machine in the diplomatic wing was acting up again. Someone should really file a maintenance request. High Chancellor Vexar's 4 eyes narrowed simultaneously. The towering, gray-skinned diplomat's patience had clearly worn thin. "Ambassador Martinez," he intoned, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. "While your species' addiction to stimulants is well documented, I must remind you that we are facing an emergency of galactic proportions." Riley raised an eyebrow. "Oh? What kind of emergency are we talking about here? Budget negotiations? Trade disputes? Another debate about standard calendar formats?" A murmur rippled through the gathered delegates. From her serpentine podium, Delegate Tessara of the Serpentine Dominion hissed with unmistakable irritation. "Ambassador, there is an armada of Corfac warships currently en route to your solar system. 847 battlecruisers, to be precise." Riley took another sip of coffee. 847, you say?" 847, confirmed General Corks, the Galactic Council's chief military advisor. The stocky, beetle-browed veteran tapped his datapad, and a massive holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. It showed a perfect formation of warships, their distinctive crescent-shaped hulls gleaming against the blackness of space. "The Corfac High Command has officially declared this a disciplinary action intended to," and I quote, "teach Earth a lesson about proper respect for galactic trading protocols." "I see," Riley said, walking toward her designated podium with unhurried steps. "And what exactly did we do to warrant this lesson?" Chancellor Vexar's expression was grave. "Your agricultural delegation failed to complete Form GC 5591B3 when submitting samples of your soybeans for interstellar commerce approval. There was a missing signature on page 73, subsection 12. "A missing signature," Riley repeated flatly. "On page 73, subsection 12, Vexar confirmed. "The Corfac are particularly stringent about regulatory compliance." Riley placed her coffee cup on the podium and squared her shoulders. "And for this paperwork oversight, they're sending 847 warships to, what, bombard our planet, enslave our population, turn Earth into a parking structure?" "The exact nature of the lesson was not specified," General Cork said. "But Corfac disciplinary actions are rarely gentle." Riley smiled, a small, almost imperceptible upward curve of her lips. "Well, I appreciate the Council's concern, but there's no need to worry. We've already dealt with it." The chamber fell silent. "You've dealt with it," Chancellor Vexar echoed, all 4 eyes blinking in asynchronous confusion. "Yes," Riley said simply. Delegate Tessara's forked tongue flicked out skeptically. "Ambassador Martinez, perhaps the severity of the situation escapes you. The Corfac fleet includes 37 dreadnoughts, equipped with planetary bombardment capabilities. Your world has been a member of the Galactic Council for merely 12 years. Your defensive capabilities are—" "Completely adequate," Riley interrupted. "As I said, we've dealt with it." General Corks grunted, his thick fingers manipulating the holographic display. "Ambassador, our long-range sensors confirm that the Corfac fleet is still on an intercept course with your solar system. ETA approximately 6 standard hours." Riley sighed, setting down her coffee cup. "General, would you mind checking the records for any unusual activity in the vicinity of Earth's outer defense perimeter? specifically at Galactic Standard Time, 1423, 18,000. The general's bushy eyebrows knitted together, but he complied, his fingers dancing across his console. The holographic display shifted, showing a time-stamped recording. The council chamber collectively held its breath as they watched the Corfac fleet, all 847 ships, advancing in perfect formation toward Earth's solar system. And then, at precisely Galactic Standard 1423, 18,000, every single ship vanished. No explosions, no debris, just gone. For several long seconds, the council chambers remained in stunned silence. "As I said," Riley repeated, retrieving her coffee cup. "We've dealt with it." Chancellor Vexar was the first to recover. "Ambassador Martinez," he said, his voice unnaturally tight. "What weapon did Earth deploy against the Corfac fleet?" Riley took a thoughtful sip. "Weapon? Oh, no. Just a technical malfunction. These things happen in space, you know." "A technical malfunction," Vexar repeated flatly. "That made 847 warships simultaneously disappear without a trace." Riley nodded. "Space is dangerous, full of technical malfunctions." The chamber erupted into chaos, delegates shouting questions and demands over one another. Riley simply stood at her podium, occasionally sipping her coffee, watching the pandemonium with casual interest. Chancellor Vexar eventually managed to restore order by pounding his ceremonial staff against the floor. "Ambassador," he said with forced calm, "the Council requires a full explanation of what transpired. Now." Riley placed her now empty cup on the podium. "Chancellor, with all due respect, Earth is under no obligation to explain its defensive measures. Article 17 of the Galactic Charter clearly states that any member world facing imminent military threat has the right to defend itself using any means at its disposal. The Corfac declared hostile intent. We responded accordingly." "By making their entire fleet vanish?" Delegate Tessara hissed. Riley shrugged. "As I said, technical malfunction. If the Corfac wish to file a complaint, Earth's diplomatic offices are open during standard business hours." Before the Council could respond further, General Corks cleared his throat loudly. "Chancellor, I'm receiving reports of another Corfac fleet has just entered monitored space. 847 ships, identical configuration to the first, on direct course for Earth." All eyes turned back to Riley. She smiled. "Well, look at that. It seems the Corfac are slow learners." Admiral Sarah Thompson stood at the command center of Orbital Defense Platform Moliere, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The second Corfac fleet was advancing in the exact same formation as the first, a perfect crescent of destruction, aimed directly at Earth. ETA, 6 hours. "They're really committed to this paperwork violation, aren't they?" Her executive officer, Commander James Okonkwo, remarked dryly. Thompson didn't smile. Her hand unconsciously moved to the small scar above her left temple, a reminder of the black hole research accident that had nearly killed her before she joined the fleet. "The Corfac don't take kindly to humiliation. Losing an entire fleet without explanation?" They had to respond. "So we do it again," Okonkwo said with a shrug. "Project Sleeping Giant worked perfectly the first time." Thompson's jaw tightened. "I don't like using it. Not against so many sentients." "Admiral," Okonkwo said gently, "those 847 ships carry approximately 3.2 million Corfac soldiers, all coming here with the express purpose of teaching humanity a lesson that would likely involve significant civilian casualties." "I know," Thompson said quietly, "but there's a difference between defense and this." The tactical officer approached, a tablet extended. "Admiral, EarthGov has sent authorization. Project Sleeping Giant is approved for second deployment." Thompson took the tablet, her eyes scanning the authorization codes. Everything was in order. She had her orders. Open secure channel to all sleeping giant platforms, she said finally. Authentication Thompson Zulu 9er Echo 3. Channel open, Admiral, the communications officer confirmed. Thompson took a deep breath. This is Admiral Sarah Thompson. Project Sleeping Giant is authorized for immediate deployment. Confirmed targets, Corfac Fleet, 847 vessels. Timestamp for synchronized execution. Galactic Standard, 1423-18,000. Acknowledge. One by one, acknowledgements came in from across the solar system. From what appeared to be decommissioned defense platforms, asteroid mining rigs, communication relays, and even seemingly abandoned hulks drifting in the void. 18,000 hidden weapons platforms, disguised as innocent infrastructure, awakening to their true purpose. All platforms acknowledge, Admiral, the communications officer reported. Project Sleeping Giant is armed and ready. Thompson nodded, her expression grim. Then we wait. For the next 5 hours and 59 minutes. Thompson barely moved from her position at the tactical display. She watched the Corfac fleet advance, imagining the crew aboard those ships, soldiers following orders, engineers maintaining systems, perhaps even families on the larger vessels. None of them knew what was coming. At precisely Galactic Standard, 1423, 18,000. 18,000 hidden platforms fired in perfect synchronization. The molecular disruptors, technology Earth had kept secret from the rest of the galactic community, activated simultaneously. In precisely 47 seconds, the entirety of the second Corfac Armada was transformed into expanding clouds of sorted debris. No explosions, no desperate transmissions, just the methodical unraveling of atomic bonds, breaking down the ships into their component elements, nearly sorted by atomic weight. Molecular disassembly complete, Admiral, the tactical officer reported, his voice barely above a whisper. All targets neutralized. Thompson stared at the display, at the colorful clouds that had once been 3.2 million living beings. Stand down, Project Sleeping Giant, she said. Return to dormant status. As the acknowledgements came in, Thompson locked eyes with Commander Okonkwo. They both knew there was no going back now. The galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. In the Galactic Council chambers, the holographic display showed the same scene, the second Corfac fleet dissolving into swirling clouds of elemental particles in under a minute. The horror on the faces of the assembled delegates was palpable. Riley Martinez stood calmly at her podium. Another unfortunate technical malfunction, she said into the silence. Space is just full of surprises. Chancellor Vexar's normally composed demeanor had crumbled entirely. This was no malfunction, he stammered. This was a weapon of unimaginable power. I wouldn't try to imagine it, Riley advised. Now, I believe we were discussing a missing signature on page 73, subsection 12. Perhaps we could revisit Earth's application for a simplified agricultural export form. The council chambers descended into chaos once more, but this time with a different tenor. Fear had replaced indignation. Terror had replaced skepticism. Within minutes, aides were rushing to and from the various delegation pods, whispered consultations taking place in every corner of the massive chamber. By the end of the standard hour, 17 separate diplomatic envoys had submitted emergency packs to the Earth delegation, defensive alliances, trade agreements, even 3 marriage proposals to senior Earth officials. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in 47 seconds. Chancellor Vexar, after consulting with the Council's Executive Committee, called for a second emergency session. Riley took her place at the podium once more, this time with a fresh cup of coffee. Delegates of the Galactic Council, Vexar began, his voice considerably more subdued than before. In light of recent developments, we have convened to discuss the security implications for our shared community. Riley sipped her coffee. Ambassador Martinez, Vexar continued. Earth has clearly demonstrated possession of a weapon that fundamentally alters the strategic balance of our galactic society. The Council formally requests information about this technology. Riley set down her cup. Chancellor, as I've stated, Earth experienced no technical malfunctions. However, in the spirit of galactic cooperation, I am authorized to present the Galactic Peace and Security Initiative. With a gesture, Riley activated her own holographic display. A detailed proposal materialized in front of each delegate. Earth is prepared to extend its protective capabilities to all Council members, Riley explained. For a reasonable administrative fee, of course. Think of it as insurance against technical malfunctions. This is extortion, Delegate Tessara hissed. Riley smiled pleasantly. This is security, Delegate. In an uncertain galaxy, wouldn't you like the certainty that your worlds won't experience any unfortunate incidents? You're proposing a protection racket, General Quarks growled. I'm proposing a peace initiative, Riley corrected. Earth has demonstrated its defensive capabilities. Now, we're offering to share that security with our friends. And we are all friends here, aren't we? The delegates exchanged uneasy glances. The implication was clear. Accept Earth's protection, or risk becoming the next colorful cloud of elemental particles. The Council will need time to consider this proposal, Chancellor Vexar said carefully. Of course, Riley agreed. Take all the time you need. Earth is patient, she paused. Though I should mention that our intelligence suggests several non-Council races are already preparing offers for exclusive security arrangements. The Vortac Consortium, for instance, has expressed particular interest. The mention of the Vortac, the Council's primary economic competitors, sent another wave of whispers through the chamber. We will expedite our deliberations, Vexar promised. Riley nodded. Excellent. Oh, and Chancellor? About that agricultural form. Consider it approved, Vexar said quickly. All subsections, all signatures. Wonderful, Riley beamed. I do so appreciate efficient bureaucracy. As the delegates filed out for their emergency consultations, Riley stood alone at her podium, watching the recorded footage of the Corfac fleet's disintegration play on a loop on the central holographic display. The coffee in her cup had gone cold, but she hardly noticed. She had entered the Council chambers that morning as Earth's chief diplomat, respected but often overlooked in the grand scheme of galactic politics. She would leave as the representative of the most feared power in known space. Not bad for a day's work. Back on defense platform Moliere, Admiral Sarah Thompson was reviewing the after-action reports when her secure communication channel activated. The familiar face of Ambassador Riley Martinez appeared on the screen. Admiral, Riley greeted her. I thought you'd like to know that the Galactic Council has just unanimously approved Earth's Peace and Security Initiative. All 312 member worlds signed on. Thompson's expression remained neutral. Was there ever any doubt? Not really, Riley admitted. Fear is remarkably persuasive. How are you holding up? Thompson's hand moved to the scar above her temple. 3.2 million souls, Ambassador, twice now. Riley's expression softened slightly. I know, Sarah, but consider the alternative. The Corfac have a population of over 20 billion. Their lessons typically involve reducing target planets to rubble. The math is brutal, but clear. Math doesn't dream about colorful clouds of what used to be people, Thompson replied quietly. No, Riley agreed. That burden falls to us humans. The price of power. I suppose. She paused. For what it's worth, EarthGov is creating a new position, Supreme Commander of Galactic Security Forces. They want you for the job. Thompson laughed humorlessly. Of course they do. The woman who's proven she can press the button. The woman who's proven she understands the weight of pressing the button, Riley corrected. There's a difference. Before Thompson could respond, a junior officer approached. Admiral, We're receiving priority transmissions from 17 separate stellar nations. They're all requesting immediate security consultations. Thompson sighed. The new clients are eager, I see. Welcome to the Empire business, Riley said with a thin smile. It turns out that all it takes to become a galactic superpower is to make 847 warships vanish in 47 seconds. Twice. An empire built on fear, Thompson mused. The most stable kind, Riley replied. I need to go. Apparently, I have a meeting with the Corfac ambassador in 20 minutes. They're eager to discuss a mutual security arrangement. The same people who sent 1,600 warships to attack us? The very same, Riley confirmed. Funny how quickly perspectives change when the molecular disruptors are pointed in your direction. After the communication ended, Thompson turned back to the viewport, gazing out at Earth. Beautiful, blue, and now the center of the galaxy's newest empire. An empire she had helped create with the press of a button. Commander Okonkwo, she called. Yes, Admiral? Schedule a meeting with EarthGov. I'll accept the new position. Okonkwo raised an eyebrow. I thought you had moral reservations about Project Sleeping Giant. I do, Thompson said. That's precisely why I need to be the one in charge of it. Someone needs to remember what those colorful clouds really are. Over the next several weeks, the galaxy reorganized itself around its new reality. Earth diplomatic missions, once modest affairs tucked away in the less desirable districts of alien capitals, were relocated to prestigious central locations. Trade agreements overwhelmingly favorable to Earth were signed without negotiation. Military alliances were redrawn, with Earth at the center of a vast web of security guarantees. The Galactic Council, once the supreme governing body of interstellar politics, rapidly transformed into a rubber-stamp organization for Earth's initiatives. Chancellor Vexar. His authority diminished, but his diplomatic skills still valuable. Found himself spending more time in private consultation with Ambassador Riley Martinez than presiding over council sessions. The Arkelian hegemony has requested a permanent Earth security detachment for their home system. Vexar informed Riley during one such meeting. They're offering exclusive mining rights to their dysprosium deposits. Riley reviewed the proposal on her tablet. Approved. Have them coordinate with Admiral Thompson's office for deployment schedules. And the Porvalian request for molecular disruptor technology sharing? Denied, Riley said without hesitation. Standard policy. We provide the security, not the means. Vexar hesitated. Ambassador, if I may speak frankly. Of course, Chancellor. We're friends, aren't we? The four-eyed diplomat shifted uncomfortably. There is growing concern among the founding worlds about Earth's consolidation of power. Some are using terms like hegemony and imperial overreach. Riley smiled. Interesting. And have any of these concerned founding worlds canceled their security arrangements with Earth? Well, no, Vexar admitted. I thought not, Riley said. Chancellor, Earth has no imperial ambitions. We simply want a stable, peaceful galaxy. If that stability happens to come with certain economic and political advantages for Earth, well, that's just good diplomacy, isn't it? Of course, Vexar agreed quickly. I merely thought you should be aware of the perception. I appreciate your candor, Riley said. Now, about the Tralaxian request for increased patrol frequency. As Vexar pulled up the relevant documents, Riley glanced out the window of her new, expansive office. From here, she could see the council chambers, still impressive, still the architectural pride of Asteria Prime, but somehow diminished now. A ceremonial body going through the motions of governance, while real power resided elsewhere. Just 6 weeks ago, she had been late to a council meeting, coffee in hand. Earth just another middle-tier member of the galactic community. Now, entire civilizations held their breath waiting for her decisions. All because of 47 seconds, twice. On the newly commissioned GSS deterrent, Supreme Commander Sarah Thompson reviewed the deployment map of Earth's rapidly expanding security forces. 18,000 molecular disruptor platforms, now officially designated as peacekeeping assets, were being strategically positioned throughout Council space, each disguised as something innocuous: an asteroid, a communication relay, a research station. "The Corfac transfer is complete, Commander," her aide reported. "All 300 platforms are now in position around their home system." Thompson nodded. "And they've been informed of the deployment?" "Yes, Commander. Their High Council expressed their gratitude for Earth's protection." Thompson almost smiled at that. The same civilization that had sent 1,600 warships to teach Earth a lesson was now paying for the privilege of having Earth's weapons aimed at their own homeworld. The irony wasn't lost on her. "What about the non-council requests?" she asked. 17 applications from non-council worlds this week alone," the aide replied. "The waiting list is now 8 months long." Thompson frowned. "Expedite the applications from the border systems. They're most vulnerable to non-aligned threats." "Yes, Commander." As her aide departed, Thompson turned her attention back to the deployment map. Earth's influence now extended to nearly 1,000 star systems, a network of hidden weapons ready to reduce any threat to elemental particles in 47 seconds or less. She wondered, not for the first time, if this was how empires always began, not with grandiose declarations of conquest, but with simple decisions made in moments of perceived necessity. The Corfac had threatened Earth. Earth had defended itself. And now, somehow, Earth controlled the galaxy. Her secure communication channel activated, displaying Ambassador Martinez's face. "Sarah," Riley greeted her. "How goes the empire building?" Thompson's expression remained neutral. "I prefer to think of it as security infrastructure development." Riley laughed. "Whatever helps you sleep at night. Listen, I've just come from a meeting with the Vortac Consortium. They're not council members, but they control 37 key trade routes. They want in on our protection racket. Sorry, our peace and security initiative." "And you're considering it?" "They're offering exclusive access to their quantum communication technology," Riley said. "EarthGov is salivating at the prospect." Thompson frowned. "The Vortac have been in a cold war with the Pelasian Compact for centuries. If we offer them protection, the Pelasians will see it as a threat." "So we offer the Pelasians protection too," Riley said with a shrug. "Double the clients, double the fees." "And if conflict breaks out between them?" "Then we remind both sides that picking a fight with an Earth protectorate means facing those 47 seconds of molecular disruption," Riley replied. "Trust me, Sarah, nobody wants to be a colorful cloud of elemental particles. Peace through fear is still peace." Thompson wasn't convinced, but she knew better than to argue with Earth's chief diplomat, especially now that Martinez had the full backing of a grateful EarthGov. "I'll begin drawing up deployment plans for both regions," she said instead. "Excellent," Riley beamed. "Oh, and one more thing. Chancellor Vexar has requested a demonstration of the molecular disruptors for the Council's Military Oversight Committee. Nothing dramatic, just enough to satisfy their curiosity." Thompson's eyebrows shot up. "You can't be serious." "Just a small asteroid or abandoned space hulk," Riley assured her. "Something to give them a taste without revealing too much about the technology." "Ambassador, the entire point of our advantage is that nobody knows exactly what we can do or how we do it," Thompson argued. "Mystery is our greatest asset." "Precisely why we'll give them just enough to fuel their imaginations, but not enough to satisfy their curiosity," Riley countered. "A little showmanship goes a long way in diplomacy." Thompson sighed. "I'll select an appropriate target and prepare a controlled demonstration. But on record, I think this is a mistake." "Duly noted, Supreme Commander," Riley said, her tone suddenly formal. "EarthGov appreciates your concerns, but has made its decision." After the communication ended, Thompson stared at the blank screen for a long moment. There had been a time, not so long ago, when she and Riley had been equals, colleagues working together to protect Earth. Now, the power dynamic had shifted. Riley spoke with the authority of EarthGov behind her, and Thompson was expected to follow orders without question. Just as millions of beings across the galaxy now followed Earth's orders without question. The demonstration for the Military Oversight Committee went exactly as Riley had planned. An abandoned mining hulk, positioned in a remote sector of Asteria Prime's star system, was reduced to its component elements in precisely 47 seconds. The committee members watched in stunned silence as the hulk, nearly a kilometer long, dissolved into a swirling cloud of neatly sorted elements. As you can see, Riley explained to the assembled dignitaries, Earth's defensive capabilities are both precise and comprehensive. This particular abandoned vessel was composed primarily of iron, titanium, and various carbon compounds. If you'll direct your attention to the holographic analysis, you'll note that these elements have been nearly sorted by atomic weight. "Remarkable," murmured one of the committee members, a Dortian physicist whose multiple eye stalks were extended to their full length in astonishment. "The energy requirements for such molecular manipulation must be—" "Are classified," Riley interrupted smoothly, "as are all technical specifications of Earth's defensive systems. This demonstration was provided merely as a courtesy to our esteemed Council allies." Chancellor Vexar, who had been watching the demonstration with a carefully neutral expression, finally spoke. "Ambassador Martinez, the committee appreciates Earth's transparency. However, questions remain about the ethical implications of a weapon capable of such thoroughness." Riley's smile never wavered. "Chancellor, ethics are always contextual, aren't they? When faced with aggression, defense becomes the highest ethical imperative. Earth simply developed the most efficient defense possible. Efficiency that has transformed your world from a mid-tier council member to the dominant power in the galaxy in less than 2 months," observed another committee member. "A fortunate side effect," Riley acknowledged. "Though I would point out that Earth never sought this position. The Corfac forced our hand. And now the Corfac themselves are under your protection," Vexar noted. Riley spread her hands in a gesture of innocence. "They requested it, Chancellor, as have 347 other stellar nations. Earth is simply responding to demand." As the committee members filed out, their whispered conversations tinged with equal parts awe and fear. Riley found herself alone with Chancellor Vexar on the observation deck. "You've changed, Ambassador," Vexar said quietly. Riley raised an eyebrow. "Have I? Or has the galaxy changed around me?" "Perhaps both," Vexar conceded. "I remember when you first arrived at the Council, passionate about Earth's agricultural exports, eager to learn about galactic governance, always with that cup of coffee in hand." "I still enjoy coffee," Riley pointed out, lifting her ever-present cup. "But now you enjoy power more," Vexar said. It wasn't a question. Riley considered this. "Power is like coffee, Chancellor. Initially bitter, eventually addictive, and it keeps you awake at night." She took a sip from her cup. "But, unlike coffee, power doesn't stain your teeth. It only stains your soul." "A poetic observation." "I've had time to reflect," Riley said. "Turns out, building an accidental empire gives one plenty of philosophical material." Vexar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture that Riley had learned indicated deep concern. "And does this accidental empire have limits, Ambassador? Or will Earth's technical malfunctions continue to expand until the entire galaxy falls under your protection?" Riley's expression hardened slightly. "Earth's only ambition is security, Chancellor, for ourselves and for those who choose to ally with us. Any stellar nation that respects that security has nothing to fear. And those who question it? Riley gestured toward the slowly dispersing elemental cloud that had once been a mining hulk. They can contemplate the alternatives. 47 seconds is remarkably clarifying for most political disagreements. As Riley departed, leaving Vexar alone on the observation deck, the Chancellor couldn't help but wonder if the galaxy had merely exchanged one potential tyrant for another. The Corfac had threatened with 847 warships. Earth threatened with 47 seconds of molecular disruption. Was there really a difference in the end? Admiral Sarah Thompson's dreams were haunted by colorful clouds. Night after night, she found herself floating in space, surrounded by the swirling particles of what had once been 3.2 million Corfac soldiers. In her dreams, the particles would sometimes form faces, accusing, terrified faces that would mouth silent questions before dissolving back into elemental mist. She woke from one such dream to find her communication terminal blinking with a priority message, EarthGov, requesting her immediate presence for an emergency consultation. Within an hour, she was seated in a secure conference room in Earth's Geneva complex, facing the 12 members of the Planetary Security Council. Ambassador Riley Martinez sat at the head of the table, looking remarkably refreshed despite the late hour. Supreme Commander, the Council chairperson began. Thank you for joining us on such short notice. We have a situation developing in the Carthan sector. Thompson straightened in her chair. The Carthan sector was on the far edge of Council space, bordering several non-aligned civilizations of questionable reputation. The Mycelian Collective has amassed a fleet near the Carthan border, Riley explained, activating a holographic display. 217 vessels, including what appear to be planetary assault carriers. Thompson studied the display. The Mycelians aren't council members, but they're not typically expansionist either. What's their target? Unknown, the chairperson replied. But the Dorsal Confederacy has requested immediate activation of their security arrangement with Earth. They believe the Mycelians intend to seize their outer colonies. And the Dorsals are now under our protection, Thompson concluded. Precisely, Riley confirmed. The Council is preparing to authorize deployment of Project Sleeping Giant assets to the Carthan sector as a deterrent. Thompson frowned. Based on what evidence? Have the Mycelians made any aggressive moves? Issued any threats? An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. The fleet movements themselves constitute a threat, the defense minister finally said. By that logic, every military exercise in the galaxy could be construed as a threat. Thompson countered. Ambassador Martinez, have you attempted diplomatic contact with the Mycelian leadership? Riley's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. The Mycelians have declined our request for consultation. So we have no confirmation of hostile intent, Thompson pressed. Just a fleet movement and the anxieties of a paying client. Supreme Commander, the chairperson said. The Peace and Security Initiative explicitly guarantees protection against potential threats. The Dorsal Confederacy has invoked that guarantee. And they've paid their fees promptly, another council member added. Thompson looked around the table, realization dawning. This isn't about security. This is about demonstrating to our clients that we'll respond to their calls, no matter how tenuous the threat. It's about credibility, Riley said smoothly. Earth's security guarantees must be seen as absolute. Otherwise, the entire initiative collapses. And with it, the considerable economic benefits Earth has been enjoying, Thompson added. Riley didn't deny it. Peace and prosperity are not mutually exclusive. Supreme Commander, now, the Council requires your expertise on deployment options. For the next hour, they discuss strategies for positioning molecular disruptor platforms in the Carthan sector. Thompson provided the requested technical advice, all while a knot formed in her stomach. This was no longer about defending Earth, or even defending allies against clear aggression. This was about projecting power, plain and simple. As the meeting concluded, Thompson requested a private word with Ambassador Martinez, once the others had filed out. She didn't mince words. "This is a dangerous precedent, Riley." "It's a necessary demonstration," Riley countered. "The galaxy is watching. Sarah, they need to see that Earth's protection has teeth." "Even if those teeth are bared at the wrong target?" Thompson demanded. "We have no proof the Mycelians intend any aggression." "Then they have nothing to worry about," Riley said. "The platforms will deploy. The Mycelians will recognize the implied threat, and they'll withdraw their fleet. No colorful clouds necessary." "And if they don't withdraw? If they call what they perceive as our bluff?" Riley's expression hardened. "Then they'll have 47 seconds to reconsider. Those are your orders, Supreme Commander." Thompson stood rigid, her military discipline warring with her moral compass. "I want it on record that I object to this deployment." "So noted," Riley said coldly. "The platforms deploy in 12 hours regardless." As Thompson turned to leave, Riley added, "This isn't the science lab. Sarah, it's not the clean, theoretical world of your black hole research. This is geopolitics, messy, pragmatic, and occasionally preemptive." Thompson paused at the door. "My black hole research nearly killed me. Ambassador, I still carry the scar. But at least I understood the forces I was playing with back then." She fixed Riley with a steady gaze. "I'm not sure you understand the forces you're unleashing now." Before Riley could respond, Thompson was gone. The deployment to the Carthan sector proceeded as ordered. 20 molecular disruptor platforms, disguised as automated survey probes, positioned themselves along the border between dorsal and Mycelian space. Their presence was not advertised, but Earth ensured that Mycelian long-range sensors would detect unusual energy signatures, enough to make them curious, enough to make them concerned. 3 days later, the Mycelian fleet withdrew from the border region. The Dorsal Confederacy publicly praised Earth's swift response to the Mycelian threat. Trade agreements even more favorable to Earth were signed within a week. 3 neighboring stellar nations applied for protection under the Peace and Security Initiative, their applications accompanied by generous technology transfer offers. Earth's influence expanded. Earth's coffers swelled. Earth's reputation as the galaxy's preeminent power was further cemented. And Admiral Sarah Thompson's dreams of colorful clouds grew more vivid. 6 months after the incident with the Corfac fleets, Ambassador Riley Martinez returned to Earth for a brief respite from her galactic diplomatic duties. Her apartment in Geneva overlooked the lake, offering spectacular views of the water and the mountains beyond. But tonight, she wasn't admiring the view. She was sitting in her darkened living room, staring at the contents of her glass, an amber liquid considerably stronger than coffee. Her secure communication terminal chimed, indicating an incoming call from a familiar source. With a sigh, she accepted. Supreme Commander Thompson's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, the scar above her temple standing out starkly against her pale skin. "Ambassador," Thompson greeted her formally. "It's after midnight, Sarah," Riley replied. "I think we can dispense with titles." Thompson nodded. "Have you seen the latest reports from the Carthan sector?" "I've been briefed," Riley said carefully. "The Mycelians have withdrawn completely from 3 star systems bordering dorsal space." Thompson continued. "Those systems had been contested for centuries, but the Mycelians maintained research outposts and mining operations there. Now they're gone." "A strategic realignment," Riley suggested. "Nothing unusual in that." "A fear-driven abandonment," Thompson corrected. "And now the dorsals are moving in to claim those systems, despite having no historical presence there. The Mycelians have filed a protest with the Galactic Council." "Let them protest," Riley said with a dismissive wave. "The Council has no real authority anymore." "Because we've undermined it," Thompson pointed out. "Riley, don't you see what's happening? We're not maintaining peace. We're altering the balance of power across the galaxy based on who pays us the most." Riley took a long sip from her glass. "Welcome to Empire, Sarah," It's messy and morally ambiguous. Always has been. This isn't what we signed up for, Thompson insisted. Project Sleeping Giant was meant to be a last resort defensive measure, not a tool for galactic extortion. And yet here we are, Riley said, gesturing broadly with her glass. 385 stellar nations under Earth's protection. Economic growth rates unprecedented in human history. Security guarantees that have prevented at least 12 potential conflicts in the past 6 months alone. She leaned forward. Tell me, Supreme Commander, how many colorful clouds have you had to create since the Corfac? Thompson was silent for a moment. None, she admitted finally. Exactly, Riley said triumphantly. Fear of those 47 seconds has done more for galactic peace than centuries of council negotiations. No one wants to risk becoming a cloud of elemental particles. The mere possibility is deterrent enough. For now, Thompson said. But fear breeds resentment, and resentment eventually breeds resistance. History has taught us that much. History was written before molecular disruptors, Riley countered. Besides, we're not conquering anyone. Every world under our protection chose to be there. At gunpoint. At reality point, Riley corrected. The galaxy is a dangerous place. We offer security in that danger. It's not our fault that security comes with influence. Thompson shook her head. I'm requesting a meeting with the full Security Council next week. There need to be clearer guidelines for platform deployment. Ethical considerations, not just strategic or economic ones. Always the scientist, Riley murmured. Looking for clean solutions in a messy universe. Someone has to, Thompson replied. Or we'll become exactly what we claim to be protecting against. After the communication ended, Riley refilled her glass and walked to the window. Geneva was beautiful at night, the lights of the city reflecting off the lake. Somewhere in the sky above, hidden among the stars, 18,000 molecular disruptor platforms maintained Earth's newfound galactic dominance. 18,000 instruments of fear, disguised as innocent infrastructure. She wondered, briefly, what those original platform engineers would think of how their creation was now being used. They had designed Project Sleeping Giant as a desperate measure against existential threats, a last resort when all else failed. Now, it was the foundation of Earth's foreign policy, the backbone of its economic prosperity, the source of its unprecedented influence. All because of 47 seconds, twice. Riley raised her glass in a mock toast to the night sky. To technical malfunctions, she said softly. Long may they protect us. The Galactic Council chambers were nearly empty when Chancellor Vexar entered. Where once hundreds of delegates would have been engaged in passionate debate about interstellar policy, now only a skeleton crew of administrative staff remained, going through the motions of governance while real decisions were made elsewhere, in Earth's diplomatic offices, in the headquarters of the Peace and Security Initiative, in private meetings between Ambassador Martinez and key world leaders. Vexar made his way to the central podium, where he had once presided over the most powerful deliberative body in known space. Now, it was little more than a ceremonial position. His authority, a polite fiction maintained for the sake of tradition. Chancellor, a voice called from the entrance. I wasn't expecting to find you here. Vexar turned to see Ambassador Martinez approaching, coffee cup in hand as always. Ambassador, he greeted her. I still maintain my official duties, diminished though they may be. Riley ascended to the central platform, looking around at the empty chamber. I remember when this place intimidated me, she mused. All these powerful beings, representing trillions of sentience across thousands of worlds. It was overwhelming for a junior diplomat from Earth. And now? Vexar asked. Riley shrugged. Now it's just a room. A beautiful historic room. But just a room. Because the power is no longer here, Vexar observed. Power flows where effectiveness resides, Riley said. The Council debated for 17 years whether to censure the Corfac for their disciplinary actions against smaller worlds. Earth resolved the issue in 47 seconds. Through destruction. Through deterrence, Riley corrected. The second Corfac fleet was unfortunate, but necessary. Since then, no molecular disruptors have been activated against living targets. Vexar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Yet the threat remains omnipresent. My aide recently compiled statistics on Council deliberations before and after the Corfac incident. Do you know what she found, Ambassador? Riley raised an eyebrow questioningly. In the 6 months since Earth's demonstration, no Council vote has contradicted a known Earth preference. Not one, out of 273 votes. Perhaps Earth's preferences are simply aligned with galactic best interests, Riley suggested. Or perhaps, Vexar countered, 273 separate delegations, representing civilizations that have existed for millennia, are terrified of becoming colorful clouds of elemental particles. Riley didn't deny it. Fear is an effective motivator, Chancellor. It always has been. But is it a sustainable foundation for galactic governance? More sustainable than endless debate and bureaucratic inertia, Riley said, gesturing to the empty chamber around them. When was the last time the Council actually solved a major crisis? When was the last time it prevented a war or stopped an aggressor? Vexar had no immediate answer. Exactly, Riley continued. The Council was a noble experiment in collaborative governance, but ultimately ineffective against real threats. Earth's approach may not be as philosophically satisfying, but it works. The proof is in the results: peace, stability, economic growth. Peace through fear is not true peace, Ambassador. Tell that to the worlds that used to live in terror of Corfac disciplinary fleets, Riley countered. Tell that to the border systems that no longer need to maintain ruinous defense budgets, because Earth's protection deters potential invaders. Vexar sighed, a sound that conveyed weariness across species boundaries. I fear for the future, Ambassador. Not Earth's immediate future. That seems quite secure. But the long-term future of our galactic community. Power, concentrated so absolutely, has rarely ended well in historical terms. History is written by survivors, Chancellor, Riley said. And Earth intends to ensure that as many worlds as possible survive and thrive under its protection. She checked her communication device. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with the Vortac Consortium about expanding their security arrangement to include their new territories. As Riley turned to leave, Vexar called after her. Ambassador, one last question. Does it ever trouble you, the power you now wield? Riley paused at the chamber entrance. For a moment, her carefully maintained diplomatic mask slipped, revealing something more complex beneath. Doubt, perhaps, or weariness similar to Vexar's own. Every night, Chancellor, she admitted quietly. But then, I remember the alternative. A galaxy where might makes right, where worlds like Earth are at the mercy of whoever has the largest fleet or the most destructive weapons. She straightened her shoulders. I'll take the burden of power over the vulnerability of principle. With that, she was gone, leaving Vexar alone in the echoing emptiness of what had once been the center of galactic governance. On the bridge of the GSS Deterrent, Supreme Commander Sarah Thompson reviewed the latest deployment maps. Earth's security network now extended to over 400 stellar nations, with 18,000 molecular disruptor platforms strategically positioned throughout known space. Each disguised, each ready to transform threat into elemental particles in 47 seconds or less. Commander, her executive officer reported, we've detected unusual energy signatures in the Proxima Tertius sector. Possible cloaked vessels near Platform 12359. Thompson frowned. Proxima Tertius was far from established trade routes, its only significant feature being a molecular disruptor platform disguised as an automated research station. Analysis? Inconclusive. Commander, the signatures don't match any known configuration in our database. Thompson considered her options. Standard protocol would be to activate nearby platforms, target the unidentified vessels, and issue a warning. If the warning was ignored, 47 seconds would follow. But something made her hesitate. Deploy reconnaissance drones. Passive sensors only. Let's see what we're dealing with before we escalate. Yes, Commander. Hours later, the reconnaissance data revealed something unexpected. The energy signatures belonged to a previously unknown species, a pre-FTL civilization, making its first tentative ventures beyond its home system. They had stumbled upon the disguised platform purely by accident, their primitive sensors attempting to make sense of the unfamiliar technology. They posed no threat. They were simply explorers, taking their first steps into a wider galaxy. A galaxy now dominated by the threat of molecular disruption. Thompson made her decision. Relocate Platform 12359, move it out of their detection range. Her executive officer looked surprised. Commander, protocol dictates that we should establish contact and inform them of Earth security parameters. And immediately bring them under our influence through fear? Thompson shook her head. They deserve a chance to develop on their own terms, not in the shadow of our weapons. She paused. And don't log this decision. As far as official records are concerned, Platform 12359 was relocated for routine maintenance. Understood, Commander. It was a small act of rebellion, barely a ripple in Earth's expanding sphere of influence. But for Thompson, it represented something vital, a recognition that power required restraint, that security need not always come at the expense of freedom. As she gazed at the tactical display, with its thousands of indicators representing Earth's hidden weapons, Thompson wondered how many more such decisions she would face in the coming years. How many times would she be asked to choose between protocol and principle, between security and liberty, and how long before Ambassador Martinez and EarthGov noticed her quiet deviations from official policy? Riley Martinez stood on the balcony of her Geneva apartment, watching the sun set over the lake. 6 months had passed since the Corfac incident, since 47 seconds had transformed Earth from a middling galactic power to the dominant force in known space. Her communication device chimed with an incoming message, the daily status report from Project Sleeping Giant. All platforms operational, all security arrangements maintained, all client worlds compliant with their contractual obligations. The Peace and Security Initiative was working exactly as designed. The galaxy was stable, Earth was prosperous. The colorful clouds of elemental particles that had once been 6.4 million Corfax soldiers had dispersed into the void, their component atoms mingling with the cosmic background. Yet, Riley found no satisfaction in these reports anymore. The initial rush of power, the heady sense of reshaping galactic politics with a word, had faded. What remained was responsibility, crushing, inescapable responsibility for maintaining the empire she had helped create. An empire built on fear of 47 seconds. Her device chimed again, a personal call this time, from Supreme Commander Thompson.
Sarah, Riley greeted her. Unusual to hear from you directly these days.
I've been thinking about technical malfunctions, Thompson said without preamble. Riley raised an eyebrow. Have we experienced one? No, Thompson replied. But I've been reviewing the original Corfac incident. 847 ships, vanished in 47 seconds. And then another 847, the same way.
Ancient history, Riley said dismissively. What about it?
I've been wondering, Thompson continued. What happens when someone develops immunity to our particular brand of technical malfunction? When someone creates shields against molecular disruption, or develops their own version of the technology? Riley frowned.
Our scientists assure me that's impossible. The physics involved
was impossible until we made it possible. Thompson interrupted. Riley, We're not the only intelligent beings in the galaxy. What we can discover, others can too.
Is this theoretical, or do you have evidence of something specific?
Thompson hesitated. Mostly theoretical, but there have been anomalies. Unusual sensor readings from the outer sectors. Energy signatures that don't quite match known patterns.
Have you reported these to EarthGov?
Not yet, Thompson admitted. I wanted to speak with you first. Riley sighed. Sarah, if there's a potential threat to the initiative, it needs to be assessed immediately. You know the protocols. The protocols would have me deploy additional platforms to the sectors in question, Thompson said. Escalate our presence. Show even more teeth.
And you disagree with this approach? I think. Thompson paused. I think we've reached the limits of what fear can accomplish. Sooner or later, someone will call our bluff, or worse, develop a counter to our technology. And then what? Do we keep escalating until the entire galaxy is nothing but colored clouds of what used to be people?
Riley was silent for a long moment. What are you suggesting? A recalibration, Thompson said. A gradual shift from reliance on threat to genuine cooperative security. Use our current position of strength to build something more sustainable than fear.
The Council tried that approach for centuries, Riley pointed out. It failed.
The Council lacked teeth, Thompson acknowledged. We have plenty. We can use that leverage to create a genuine security framework, one that doesn't depend solely on our weapons or our willingness to use them.
Riley turned to watch the last rays of sunlight disappear behind the mountains. You're asking me to dismantle the very system I helped create, the system that's kept Earth safe and prosperous.
I'm asking you to evolve it, Thompson corrected.
Before someone forces our hand by developing immunity to our 47 seconds.
After the call ended, Riley remained on the balcony long after darkness had fallen. Thompson's words echoed in her mind, mingling with Chancellor Vexar's warnings about the sustainability of an empire built on fear. She had entered the council chambers 6 months ago as a relatively minor diplomat, coffee in hand, unprepared for the emergency that would transform both her career and the galaxy's power structure. Now she stood at the pinnacle of Earth's newfound influence, the architect of a peace enforced by the threat of molecular disruption. But was it real peace? Or merely a temporary equilibrium, destined to collapse when the fear of 47 seconds was eventually overcome? Riley had no answer. But for the first time since the Corfac incident, she found herself genuinely questioning the path she had helped chart for Earth and the galaxy. In the vast emptiness of space, 18,000 disguised platforms continued their silent vigil, each capable of transforming threat into elemental particles in 47 seconds or less, each a testament to humanity's ingenuity and fear. And somewhere in the darkness beyond known space, unknown sensors studied unusual energy signatures, unknown scientists theorized about molecular bonds, and unknown strategists contemplated the implications of Earth's sudden rise to power. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen when someone finally developed immunity to technical malfunctions. Ambassador Riley Martinez took her seat at the council podium, coffee cup in hand as always. The chambers were fuller today than they had been in months. A special session called to discuss amendments to the Peace and Security Initiative. Chancellor Vexar called the session to order, his 4 eyes surveying the assembled delegates. Representatives of the Galactic Council, we convene today to consider proposals from Earth regarding the future structure of interstellar security arrangements. Riley nodded her thanks and activated the central holographic display. Distinguished delegates, for the past 6 months, Earth's Peace and Security Initiative has maintained stability throughout Council space. No major conflicts, no invasions, no disciplinary actions against vulnerable worlds. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. However, Riley continued, stability maintained through fear alone is inherently fragile. Therefore, Earth proposes a gradual transition toward a more collaborative security framework. The display shifted, showing a complex organizational chart. At its center was no longer Earth alone, but a coalition of worlds, Earth prominent among them, but not dominant. The Galactic Security Council, Riley explained. A body of 12 worlds, elected on a rotating basis, with joint oversight of deployment decisions for defensive assets. Earth will maintain operational control of existing platforms, but strategic authority will be shared among council members. Shocked whispers filled the chamber. No one had expected Earth to voluntarily dilute its power. Chancellor Vexar leaned forward. Ambassador Martinez, am I to understand that Earth is proposing to share control of the technology that has given it unprecedented influence? Oversight, Chancellor, Riley corrected. The technology itself remains Earth's contribution to galactic security, but decisions regarding when and how to use that technology should reflect broader consensus. And what prompted this unexpected proposal? Delegate Tessara asked, her forked tongue flicking skeptically. Riley's expression remained neutral. Sustainability. Delegate. Earth has no desire to maintain perpetual vigilance over the entire galaxy. It's inefficient and, ultimately, unsustainable. A shared security architecture serves everyone's interests, including Earth's. What Riley didn't mention was her conversation with Supreme Commander Thompson, or the anomalous energy readings from the outer sectors, or the growing concern among Earth's top scientists that molecular disruption technology might not remain exclusively theirs forever. Better to negotiate from a position of strength than wait until that strength was compromised. The proposal includes a phased implementation over 3 standard years, Riley continued, beginning with the establishment of the Security Council, followed by graduated technology sharing with trusted members, and culminating in a fully integrated defensive network. Technology sharing? General Quarks exclaimed. Earth would actually provide molecular disruptor technology to other worlds? Limited aspects of it, Riley clarified. Sufficient for council members to understand its capabilities and limitations, but not enough to replicate it independently. For the next several hours, the delegates debated the proposal, their initial shock giving way to cautious optimism. Most recognized the offer for what it was, a calculated concession by Earth, trading absolute control for sustainable influence. By the end of the session, a preliminary framework had been approved. The Galactic Security Council would be established within 90 standard days, with nominations for membership to begin immediately. As the delegates filed out, Chancellor Vexar approached Riley's podium. A surprising development, Ambassador. I confess I did not anticipate such flexibility from Earth's government. Riley smiled thinly. Earth's interests are best served by stability. Chancellor, fear provides immediate compliance, but trust ensures long-term cooperation. And the real reason? Vexar pressed. There must be something more than philosophical recalibration behind this sudden shift. Riley hesitated, then decided a partial truth might serve her purposes. Let's just say that no technological advantage lasts forever. Chancellor, better to shape the next paradigm than be overtaken by it. Understanding dawned in Vexar's 4 eyes. Someone is developing countermeasures to your 47 seconds. Hypothetically speaking, Riley said carefully, such a development would be inevitable given enough time. Earth simply prefers to stay ahead of hypothetical curves. Vexar nodded slowly. A wise approach, Ambassador. Perhaps there's hope for our galaxy yet. As Vexar departed, Riley's communication device chimed with a message from Supreme Commander Thompson. Anomalous readings increasing in Sectors 17 through 23. Request urgent consultation. Riley sighed. The transition to shared security would need to happen faster than she had planned. The 47 seconds that had transformed Earth from a mid-tier power to a galactic hegemon were already becoming less absolute. But perhaps that was for the best. No empire built on a single technological advantage had ever lasted. Adaptation was the key to survival, not just for species, but for civilizations. Riley finished her coffee, set down the empty cup, and headed for her transport. There was much work to be done if Earth was to navigate the transition from fear-based dominance to collaborative leadership. And somewhere in the darkness beyond known space, unknown sensors continued their patient study of molecular disruptor signatures. Unknown scientists refined their theories about atomic bonds, and unknown strategists prepared for a galaxy where 47 seconds no longer meant oblivion. The next chapter of galactic politics was about to begin, and Earth, having learned the power of 47 seconds, now faced the challenge of moving beyond them. In the end, the lesson had not been what the Corfac intended when they sent 847 warships to teach Earth a lesson. Instead, humanity had learned something far more profound. That power, no matter how absolute it seems, is always temporary, and that true security lies not in the fear you inspire, but in the alliances you build when that fear is at its peak. It was a lesson worth 847 warships, vanished in 47 seconds. Twice,